Good morning, Ricardo and Nick. Thanks so much for joining us to talk about this EFICI Plus tax incentive. So, Ricardo, we've been working with you for a long time as accountants, and it's really great to have you on board. So, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much to trust in us and to continue working with us. I mean, the EFICI, some people call it EFICI, that's the Portuguese name. Some people call it the new NHR, although it has nothing to do with the NHR. There's a lot of people that call it the NHR 2.0. We normally call it in our office the TISRI, which stands as tax incentive for scientific research and investigation. Okay?
Okay. It's important for us to distinguish that because you're right. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's NHR 2. Can I get it? Can I get it? And it's not exactly open for everybody. But so how does EFICI Plus differ from the old NHR regime?
Okay. The main difference is that on the old NHR regime, you would get a visa or a residency permit, and providing you were not resident in the last 5 tax years, you would just simply apply for this status and you would get enrolled on the NHR. And you would be enrolled for 10 years. You could use it or not, and it would cover a lot of foreign source income, where the taxes were either exempt or taxed at a very low rate, and it would include pensions. The EFICI or TISRI is different in the sense that you still need to get the visa, become a tax resident in Portugal, but that's not the single demand. You will also need to be part of a special group of people. You will need to have there are some eligibility criteria, which are mainly related with your professional qualifications and your experience. Most of the people that are eligible for the scientific research and investigation incentive would need to be either in areas which the name says it's all, scientific research, like teachers, or they could be digital nomads. They could be IT people that are related with movies industry, etc. So in a sense, it's more difficult to get into the EFICI because you would need to be working for one of these entities to be able to qualify. And you would also have to prove on a yearly basis that you continue to be eligible. So in that way, it's different from the NHR, because the NHR, you would be here, be resident, register as NHR, and that lasts for 10 years. The TISRI, you come here, you are a resident, but you need to work for one of these entities with a specific rule. We will go into that in a minute. And you will need to continue working on a yearly basis to prove that you are still eligible. The TISRI gives you the 10 years exemption, and it's a full exemption on the foreign source income apart from pensions. So basically, what the Portuguese government is saying, whether before anyone that would be on the NHR would have the tax benefits, including people to retire in Portugal, which would just be taxed, their pensions would just be taxed at 10%. Now, the foreign pension income is excluded from this tax incentive, which means that the normal pensions would be taxed at the progressive rates. The government is attracting people to work in Portugal and not to retire in Portugal.
Okay, and is there any way you can set up your own company related to this sphere and then qualify for TISRI, or does it have to be like a government accredited company that you have to work for?
There are different ways. I mean, the government accredited companies are like startups and others, which you would need to have a project and qualify, or specific companies that are qualified by the government to be eligible. But there is one route, which is the route that we are advising our clients to go, which is easier, which is they can set up their own company. So, and as long as this company is on a specific code of activity. For instance, it could be on the extractive industries, transformative industries, or it could be in IT. And when I mean IT, that includes publishing activities, could include books, newspapers, computer programs, film, video, TV programs, software programming activities, software consultancy activities, data processing, etc. So if you set up a company like this and you are the director of this company, or you are a specialist in IT or a specialist in physical science, providing you have at least level 6 of the European qualifications framework, which is the equivalent to a bachelor's degree, and you have 3 years of proven professional experience, you would be eligible. So you would just set up your own company in Portugal. This company would invoice your company outside Portugal, or your clients outside Portugal, because one of the criteria is that the company that you are working for needs to export at least 50% of the turnover. But most of these clients that are moving to Portugal, let's imagine a digital nomad moving to Portugal to work from Portugal. He may choose to set up this company to build his own company in the UK, or he could choose to bill his clients from Portugal. So that means that he's exporting already. And providing he has these qualifications, he will be eligible for the TISRI. And what this will mean is that the income that he gets in Portugal will be taxed at a flat rate of 20%, and all the other foreign source income will be tax exempt. And that is even better than the original NHR, because that includes everything that is foreign sourced, including capital gains, dividends, royalties, interest, etc., with the exception of pension. But there are other ways of also mitigating the tax on pension that we can discuss. So this is the preferred route, but we also say to our clients, we can provide the EOR services, which EOR is employment of record. And we have a EOR company where if the client doesn't want to incorporate a company in Portugal, they might not be interested in that. They could work for this EOR company. This EOR company employs them and invoices their company outside Portugal. And as long as they have a contract where they have these qualifications, and their contract is like an IT specialist or a director or a manager, that would allow them to be enrolled on the TISRI. And obviously we have to confirm this on a yearly basis, and they need to pay the social security on their salary, etc. But this will be built to their company outside Portugal and will allow them to be on the TISRI. So these are the two main avenues that we advise our clients to go. Obviously, there are others. They can try to get set up a startup in Portugal to get the eligibility, but that's based on the government to decide. So it's a longer process, or companies that are of main interest for the country, and that's not only exclusively the tax authorities that will have to agree. There's other institutions in Portugal that would have to agree. So that's why we say these are the two main avenues. And obviously, if there is a university professor, he doesn't need to come here and set up his own company. He could just go and work for a university. The same with a medical doctor. He doesn't need to set up his own company. He could just go and work for a specific hospital or clinic, and he would also benefit from this scheme. But the ones that are contacting us are normally people that are planning to come to Portugal to work. They normally already have their own structure, and then it's just a question of deciding, okay, do I leave my company in this country? Do I move everything to Portugal? And then it's a question of analyzing the circumstances of the individual and see what makes more sense.
So it's very important for people to jump away from this NHR 2.0 idea, because it's much more complex than NHR. Like obviously NHR was open to almost everybody who came to Portugal. And now this is obviously a much more focused, specific environment, correct?
Correct. Basically Portugal, at the beginning when the NHR was established, they were looking for high qualified individuals, but also people to retire in Portugal. And the idea behind that is that, okay, they're not going to pay taxes on their pension, but they're going to live in Portugal, they're going to invest in Portugal, they're going to spend money, and the businesses will pay taxes. So indirectly, these people, although they are not paying taxes, they are contributing to the economy. What the government now has decided with this new tax incentive is that what they're looking for is high-skilled individuals to work from Portugal. And for that to happen, you either need to be hired by a company that already exists in Portugal and that exports more than 50% of the turnover, and you have the qualifications, or you set up your own company on that active sector of activity. So that's what the government is trying to do. However, I must say that there are ways, and I'm just a tax advisor. I'm not a financial advisor, but there are ways of those people that have pensions to restructure their pension in a way that their income becomes capital income and not pension income. And in those cases, if they qualify and they are eligible for the TISRI, that means that that capital income, because it's foreign sourced, it's also exempt from tax in Portugal. So in some ways, this regime, although it's more difficult to access and more complex, it gives you more advantages than the NHR, the original NHR.
And just to sum up those things again, those advantages. So it's basically a flat 20% rate. And what else? What other?
So it's a flat 20% rate on their income sourced in Portugal, and then it's a full tax exemption on the foreign source income, except if they arise from blacklisted jurisdictions or if we are talking about pension income. So the only foreign source income that is out of this exemption is the pension income. Okay.
Yeah, I was just thinking. Obviously, last time there was, I suppose, a list and a table of job roles. And listening to you talk just now, you've mentioned IT, science, etc. Is there a specific resource that gives that sort of summary? Because the last time it was a little bit generic. You also mentioned director this time. So, like, if you're coming to Portugal and you set up you set up a company to do it, right? And you're billing an entity. Okay, I'm going to use the UK because I'm that person, and I'm the director of that business, and it's an IT company. Does it matter what IT I do?
No, as long as the company. First of all, we need to see if the applicant has the level of qualifications, which is the equivalent to a bachelor degree and the 3 years of experience, because that needs to be proven to the tax authorities. Or if they don't have 3 years of experience, they need to have at least a PhD or doctorate. So that's the first thing. Then they need to be either the director of the company or an IT specialist, a specialist in physical science, or an engineer, a doctor, or a university professor. And then the company that they work for needs to export at least 50% of its turnover in the fiscal year in which you join, or because that's the first year of the company, or if the company already exists in the last 2 years before you join the company. So that company needs to export at least 50%, and it needs to be there's a specific list of codes. So for instance, the extractive industries, the transformative industries, the IT, information and communication, which includes a lot of companies. Obviously, the list of jobs, it's much smaller, it's much shorter than the original list for the NHR. The list of the NHR was different. You could just be a sales director for a company. It doesn't matter what activity was that company for, and it didn't matter if the company was exporting or not. And in this case, you need to export 50%. The company needs to export 50%, and you need to be on one of these specific rules, which is shorter than the previous list, and the company also needs to be on the sector of activity, which is shorter, but includes most of the IT related activities, so software, includes publishing activities, communication, television programs, includes a lot of things that are IT and communication related. Okay, and we have a list with all the codes that can happen. And to be honest, if you come to Portugal and you want to be, let's say, if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or to be an accountant, you need to have a certification, and you need to be certified by the Chamber of Accountants, the Chamber of Doctors, the Chamber of Lawyers, let's say. But if you come as an IT specialist, as long as you have a bachelor degree, you could be an engineer, or as long as you have that bachelor degree, you could have that job. You could be a director of an IT company, or you could be a IT specialist, providing you have the experience and you have the bachelor degree. There's no specific qualification, and that allows you in some ways, and that company can issue an invoice on a monthly basis, which is your cost in Portugal. That company can invoice to the UK company for the IT services. So obviously we need to see the different specifications of each case, because each case is different, and we need to understand what are the circumstances of the clients, because for some clients it will make sense just to come here and get the EOR, employment of record contract, and continue with their structure in their countries. For others, they just want to close their company in that country and start all the operation from Portugal. So
Ricardo, just amuse me here for a second. I have no IT background, right? But let's just say, I'm good at setting up a company, and I employ a lot of specialism, and the business is, software development, right? And I'm 10 years into it. I'm the director. It's profitable, and I want to come here to do something. But I don't have a bachelor's degree in software. I have no skill in software. But the companies, are they looking for the individual with the skill set?
they're looking for the individual, and you need to have the level 6 of the European qualifications framework. So you need to have a bachelor degree. If you don't have a bachelor degree, I cannot.
But some of the
But
best.
it doesn't have to be in that sphere.
It doesn't need to be in that field. It needs to be a bachelor degree
Oh,
and
just a
3
base-
years of proven professional experience.
So it's a base level of education. Doesn't matter what it's in.
Exactly.
I have a bachelor's degree. Fine. Okay. But I'm not a software specialist, but I might own a business in the UK that does all that. So it's not going to work for me.
No, it will only work if you have the bachelor degree. If you don't have the bachelor degree, it will not work. But if you have the bachelor degree, it will work, because you could, as providing you have the 3 years of proven professional experience, we can make the application and we could say, okay, he's going to be a director of this company. The company is within the list, so it's IT, and this company is going to export more than 50% of the turnover. So it would work.
So sorry, just to clear that, I have a bachelor's degree in history, right? So I'm just using myself as an example here. Bachelor's degree in history. I'm a director of a business in the UK that does AI software development. I can do it.
Yes, you can do it,
Okay,
but you will need to register that business in Portugal.
Yeah.
Either a new business or work for a company that has the codes, like our employment of record company has those codes, which allows to employ these people and issue the invoice to your company in the UK. So it depends if you want to incorporate a company here or not. If you want, you can incorporate your own company, and because you have a bachelor degree and if you have 3 years of proven professional experience, we would set up the company within that list of that is eligible by the tax authorities on the TISRI, and we would bill your clients or your company outside Portugal. And that would mean that you will be enrolled on the TISRI for 10 years. We would need to prove that on a yearly basis. 20%, normally the way we do this, most of the clients, we put the company on fiscal transparency, which means that 20% of the tax of the company is not the profit of the company is not taxed on the company, is taxed on the personal sphere of the director, and you would be taxed at 20% of the profits of the company, and the profits will be automatically yours. It will be even if you don't take it out of the company, they are already taxed and they are yours.
Yeah.
And that's 20%, which is a very competitive rate. And all your other income, like if you take dividends from your UK company, or if you have other investments outside Portugal, they would be tax exempt. And imagining that your company is in the UK, the other company, the original company, if you take dividends from that company, those dividends would be not taxable in the UK because you would be non-tax resident. The capital investments that you have in the UK would also be not taxable because you are not taxed there. And in Portugal, they would also be exempt because you have the TISRI. So it's very competitive and allows Portugal to attract a lot of high-skilled individuals to work from Portugal and to export their knowledge and their services to other countries.
And what's the application process like? I mean, you mentioned quite a few government agencies have to get involved. Is it a simple one, and more or less how long does it take?
The one that we use when you do the high qualified professions in companies exporting at least 50% of their turnover, the only authority that we need to go through is the tax authorities, and that's the route that we are choosing. You would need to have the copy of the employment contract, the registration of the company, so up-to-date company registration certificate, and the copy of your scholarship contract or your qualifications to prove that you have the bachelor degree. And obviously the statement from the company attesting compliance with the requirements relating to the activity that you carried out. So all these documents need to be submitted throughout the application process. The application process is done in the tax portal electronically. It needs to be done by the 15th of January of each year. So initially in this year it was on the 31st of March, but on the following years it's going to be on the 15th of January of each year. And the person that is applying cannot haven't been resident in Portugal in the previous 5 tax years. So anyone that comes to Portugal in 2025 that wants to be part of this scheme, everything needs to be done during the year so that the application is submitted up until the 15th of January next year. And then on a yearly basis, it needs to be confirmed by the same methods in the tax portal. So let's imagine someone comes to Portugal, because it could be that you come to Portugal, you are enrolled on the TISRI, and then suddenly you stop working. And if you stop working for more than 6 months in a year, then on the following year, you're not eligible. That doesn't affect the income you have in Portugal, because perhaps you stop working, so you have no income from Portugal. But that means that the income that you have from outside Portugal will be taxed and not exempt because you're no longer on the TISRI. So the TISRI needs to be confirmed on a yearly basis.
And if you've been, sorry, I may have missed this, but if you've been a resident for, say, 2 years in Portugal,
no, you cannot have been tax resident in the previous 5 tax years. Okay. It's the same criteria as the NHR.
Okay, great.
It's only for new residents.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and they've got to do that before the 15th of January. Got it. Yeah.
I think the list is really interesting. The list of what qualifies. You know, you've mentioned sort of communication, TV, science, IT. You know, that's actually quite broad, broader than I thought it was. So it'd be really interesting to sort of delve into that. Not so much now, but whether we, how we get a bit more information on that would be really sort of interesting just to see, because it doesn't sound completely non-inclusive. It seems like we're much broader than perhaps the sort of the headline state science, and you're kind of like, whoa, okay, well.
Yeah, when people think it's tax incentive for scientific research and investigation, and people say, oh, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But it could be, because most of the digital nomads are related with IT, and all those will be, in most cases, eligible, providing they work for a company that exports 50% or more of the turnover, and providing they have a bachelor degree and they are a director or something similar on that company.
Yeah, because when you said digital publishing, it sounds like somebody with a degree and a blog could do it.
Publishing activities can include books, newspapers, computer programs. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So if you run a magazine or something, you could maybe do it. Yeah. Well, Nick, do you have any other questions? Are there any other points?
I mean, I think we'll come back to you offline just to delve into that list. I think, because that'd be really helpful for us to understand as well. But like, I suppose anything you'd like.
We've made a leaflet, a booklet with the all these information that that I've just disclosed, and obviously we can send that to clients, and I can share that document with you because it explains and it details all the professions that are eligible. Okay.
Excellent. Great. Thanks, Ricardo. So if any of you guys out there need to get in touch for information or actually want to apply, just get in touch with us and we'll forward you on to Ricardo. And yeah, happy days. You'll get 20% tax break.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Excellent.
Yeah,
well,
but Portugal, don't forget, Portugal is still very attractive. People think that, oh, it was the NHR, now the NHR was revoked. But Portugal is still, I wouldn't say a tax haven, but it's much more affordable than most European countries. There's no inheritance tax, there's no wealth tax. If you are retiring to Portugal, and if you have a self-invested pension, you can apply for 85% of that income from that pension to be excluded. And that's nothing to do with it. It is TISRI. That's just the normal law. So Portugal is still, not only we have this weather and this spectacular quality of life, but tax-wise, providing you have someone that can guide you through the system, there are a lot of opportunities.
I think that's a really important point because people just look at the flat tax rates and think, that's not for me, I can't deal with it. But well, like you say, there's all these other systems where you can actually benefit from.
I speak with a lot of people that are planning to relocate to Portugal, and we have the conversation. And sometimes they thought, I thought that I was going to pay 48% tax because I look at the tax brackets. I mean, it's not exactly like that. There's a lot of tax deductions. There's a lot of allowances. And like I said, if you have a self-investment pension, 85% of the income from that pension is not taxable, which means that you could be taking 100,000 euros a year and you are effectively paying 7% tax or less. So it's not 48. But you need to understand all these before making mistakes.
I smell another video.
Well, okay. Brilliant. Yeah, it's great. Ricardo, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Algarve Addicts.com